gasket. Okay, the following shows the different primary and secondary gaskets. The 60 millimeter wide ones, there's 3 different profiles available. And the 70 millimeter wide, there's 2 profiles available. For this project here, we're using the 60 millimeter wide, the 60-10-5. 60 indicates the width. The 10 indicates the height where the glass bears on. And the 5 indicates the height in the center where the aluminum U-channel bears on. Okay, the following U-channel profiles are used with the 60 and 70 gasket profiles. The one that we're using for this project here is the U30. We can go down to a minimum of 8 millimeters of glass using the U19. Okay, the first step is to install the primary gasket. You want to start at the top of the structure. Okay, make sure prior to installing your gasket that you cut the gasket square at the top so it seats nicely. Okay, the tape on the back, you peel that back, there's a butyl strip there to help with your adhesion. You pull that back to get yourself started. Center it on the tube. And work your way back down to the base. You only want to peel the tape so far to make sure the one end is stuck on. Leave the rest of the tape on so you can make minor adjustments when applying the U-channel to the primary gasket. You know, at the base, give yourself a couple extra inches that can be trimmed later. The channels are fastened to the steel structure through the primary gasket using stainless steel grade 410 self-drilling, self-tapping screws. When the screws come through the primary strip, there's a butyl strip on the back that acts as a sealing device for the screw as it enters into the steel structure, giving you a watertight seal. Okay, when calculating your secondary gasket cut length, you first measure between your primaries from center line to center line, and then in the case of the gasket we're using here, the 60-20-05, you subtract 16 millimeters from each end for your overall cut length. So you end up with a 14 millimeter overlap from your secondary to your primary, and the 14 millimeters is the undercut operation that you do on the secondary, which I'll show you later. Okay, when cutting your secondaries, first make sure you have a clean square cut. Okay, keep going, Russ. Pull it to length. Alright, use a chopping block, cut it to the other end. Okay, this was the predetermined length that I talked about, subtracting the 16 millimeters from the primaries, from center line of structure to center line of structure.
16 on both ends. That's it, right? 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, the chopping block can be adjusted to cut any angle. What's the maximum angle that you can cut? Are we looking at 45 degrees?
45, 40.
Yeah.
Say 45.
Okay, so you adjust the angle that you need just by loosening up the knob at the top, making your adjustments, and then cut away.
Winch.
Step. The next step is that we got to remove the cutting plate from the chop block and replace it with a different cutting plate so that we can do the back cutting on the secondary gaskets. You can see the profile here. This is the cut we need to make at each end of the secondary gasket, and this is the plate we need to use for that. Okay, slide it on. Okay. Now that the cutting block is installed for the secondary, you insert the secondary on the aluminum guides, slide it in place, bring down your cutting blade with your fingers out of the way. Okay, this only cuts partially into the gasket. Okay, now you take your pliers and you remove the back portion of the gasket. This is to allow the overlap on the primary gasket. Okay, turn it. More, turn this way. All right, I lost you. There you go. Okay, that's the finished product. Okay, let's go to the next step. Okay, the next step is to prepare the primary gasket to accept the secondary gasket. You take the special shear tool, line it up in place, cut both ends. Okay, next you take a pair of pliers, put your thumb on the part that you don't want to peel back so you don't rip too much off, twist the pliers, and as you lift up, put your thumb at the other end of the cut to keep from peeling too much away, and pull straight up. There's your final cut right there. Now you're ready to install your secondary. Okay, the next step is before you put the secondary strip in, you have to insert a ribbon of butyl tape. Starting at the center, work your way out, make sure you get it inside of the corners, and when you bring it over the top of the primary, the rubber lip needs to be lifted and the butyl needs to be pressed underneath the lip. Oh, this is perfect. Okay, now your piece is ready for the secondary gasket to come into place.